I really think you should do a tribute to Steve since Steve is not here. Can you do a Steve impression that Steve would be proud of?
Let's see.
First, you need some socks, which you don't have.
I do need socks. I don't have socks. Apologize for that. But what's going on, guys? Steve Mitch at Shock Therapy. Today we're going to be talking about all of our forks and how they work. But first off, we got to introduce Justin Smith.
Well, thank you very much, Steve Mitch. That was pretty good, actually. I can't do a Steve. I'd be horrible at it. He'd be yelling at me. Steve is not here because he's in North Carolina. Steve is in North Carolina with a whole bunch of our crew kind of doing last bit setups over there between Oracle integration, inventory, a whole bunch of other BS. So they'll be back next time we have a live feed. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we're going to have announcements on when we're going to be opening up North Carolina, but that's where he's at. I think he is here in spirit and probably on the feed on purpose. He might even check in and show you around North Carolina at the end.
He said not bad.
Not bad. He liked it. Good. And then we didn't. We did Steve proud. We'll take it.
John said keep your day job.
I would agree. No impressions in your future.
Negative.
Hey guys, sorry it took a while. I've been gone for about a month between the Baja San Felipe 250, which we raced our stock Pro R in, and I'll skip right to the end. Everybody wanted to know what happened in that race. At race mile, we had to fill up the car with a stock fuel tank every 65 miles, which meant we couldn't make it to the first one. So at race mile 40, we fueled up. We were 5th. At race mile 65, we were 3rd. At race mile 110, we were 2nd behind Brandon Sims. And at race mile 115, we're passing some Class 10 cars going through the field, and a Class 10 blew a big roost of rocks at us as we're going around him, and it blew the grill out of the whole grill assembly out of the front end plastics, broke all the mounts, pushed that grill into the radiator, destroyed the radiator, ended our race. We didn't have spare parts because we're racing a bone stock car that we normally don't do that with, right? So we didn't have anything. We had to cut it short. But we were doing pretty good till then. And we're going to take everything that we learned from that. We're going to be racing our normal race car at the Baja 500, so hopefully we do a bit better than that and give some guys a run for their money. We'll find out. But today's feed is discussing front shock forks on a Pro R and a Turbo R, and there is a lot of marketing around this. There's a lot of rumor around this. There's a lot of chit-chat in camps about these things being required to change and all that. We're going to put an end to all of the mysteries that are not true and kind of narrow everything down as to exactly what these things do, what they're designed to do, where they break, if they break, the best way to fix that stuff. We'll go through all that. So take a look at the front of Ernie's car. You can see on a Pro R the billet fork that we make. It's also got the billet lower spring perch as well. We'll kind of talk about that for a second. But that lower fork is specifically what we're talking about on Pro R and Turbo R. Over here on the bench, we have a factory one. This is the style that comes on the vehicle, which a lot of people have some misleading statements in their advertising when they're making these. And also people have rumors as to whether these are weak or not, which are not true. So we'll go right through the list. If you take a look on the board, these front forks, talking about the stock fork. Okay, the stock fork is actually a Polaris part. It is not a Fox part. It is not a Walker Evans part. It's a Polaris part because it is interchangeable between those shock manufacturers and styles. So exactly the same parts on both shocks. That's the reason why it's a Polaris part. 2, these factory forks, contrary to what everyone thinks and what everybody says, the forks do not break. If they break, somebody cut it or screwed it up. The only way that we have a failure in the fork area is if you crash the vehicle, if you bust a ball joint and wind the suspension all up, or if you have a spring package that's wrong and you got a lower spring goes into bind. If you got a spring that binds, you can blow up. Usually you'll blow the lower spring perch right off the system. That'll blow right off of this if you have a spring bind, or it'll break that. That's the only way you break a fork. What typically can break, if you crash ball joint or coil bind, is shaft at the narrow point where it narrows down at threads. The shafts are 7/8 in diameter. They taper down to 5/8 thread. That taper spot, that one corner right there is the weak spot, but it does not pull off. It's weak in shear if you take this whole assembly and you wind it up sideways. Side load, which is ball joints missing, crash that pushes the arm back. Sometimes the arms can move this way and come back. You don't have a folded up arm that'll cause it, but that side load is the only way that you can break that off. The fork typically isn't broken even if it's sheared the shaft in a wreck. The fork is typically not the problem. One thing to consider on the way that these were designed, a question we get a lot is, why is the factory shaft tapered down from 7/8 to 5/8 that could possibly cause this problem? Well, the reason is this. 5/8 fine thread has a torque value of 240 foot-pounds. That 240 foot-pounds, from an engineering standpoint, gives that threaded portion some stretch. When you put 240 on that, the threads stretch slightly and preload the fork against the shaft, pushing the fork up against that shoulder, and that's the reason why these have this tapered shoulder. That's what keeps it from coming loose. That's what keeps it from requiring Loctite, basically, to do that. So one of the reasons why it's tapered is so that this whole system locks down and you can get the proper stretch on it with the torque value. If you step that up and you go 7/8 to 3/4, or you go 7/8 to 7/8 thread, which some people on the market are promoting a larger diameter shaft, or the shaft of the same diameter but with larger threads. The problem that happens is you go from a 240 foot-pound rating with 5/8 to 660 foot-pounds at a 7/8. You physically cannot hold the shaft in vice jaws and put more than 300 foot-pounds of torque on this system. Not possible. 240, you can. So you can get that stretch, you can keep that load so it doesn't come loose. You put a 7/8 diameter thread on there, you can't put 600 foot-pounds on it because you can't hold the system, and you can't stretch that thread, you don't get the load, and then you have to rely on something like Loctite to do that. Loctite, the reason it's not used as a torque management tool in the factory is that Loctite is all over the board on what it'll hold, and you can't keep consistency with it. If you go into something that's like permanently locked, like a green Loctite or something like that, if you try and take it apart, just ripping the aluminum apart, and you can never actually service the parts. So Loctite is not a means of keeping it tight, and if you go too big on the thread, then you can't get the torque on it, and you can't keep the thing that way. That's the reason why the factory does what they do, and why we don't step that up at all. It's not required, not needed, and it's also actually not what is needed to fix it. Mitch or Dom, do you guys have anything you want to interrupt while I'm yakking about that?
Not about forks.
Not about forks. What do you got?
Subject change.
Okay, real quick.
22 XRS Max going to a 2-seater. It was a 4. Is the RS valving different or just the spring rates?
I'm sorry, I missed that because I was trying to read something in Mitch's phone.
4-seater Max going
Yeah.
to a 2-seater. He's
Yeah.
asking if the springs and valving will be different.
Yes, spring rates are definitely different. Valving is different as well. You can't swap shocks like that and expect it to be right. Definitely have to make a change. We had guys trying to take and do that all the time, and they wonder why it doesn't ride right. It's weight, it's balance, it's center of gravity, all kinds of stuff. So back to forks. But thank you. Interrupt
Fork,
if you got
yeah.
something you. Fork you. So not a good idea to go larger on the thread size. You are removing a weak spot, but it's only weak if you have a crash. You are getting to where you can't torque it and you can't stretch the system the right way. So kind of issues with that. Fork, another issue or another misnomer or misleading facts that people might throw out there when they're marketing a billet one is that these forks are cast, or they say, hey, this is a weak casting. It is not cast, okay? If someone says it's cast, they do not know what they're doing. This is actually a forging. So this whole assembly, when it's in a rough form, is pounded and pressed together to bring the molecular structure tighter and much stronger. It's 6,000 material, 6,000 series aluminum, so it's not a weaker aluminum metallurgy. It's actually really awesome. It's the same thing that you get in wheels. Take a look at this wheel. The difference in wheels, you can get cast wheels or you can get forged wheels. Well, this is a forged wheel. The casting has actually been smashed together, pressed together, and heated at the same time to shrink that molecular structure and make it way stronger. That's why a forged wheel is the way to go. This is a forging, and this is one of the reasons why you never see a broken fork. You only see broken threads at the shaft with a crash, with spring issues, or with a ball joint issue. Any questions on forks before I move on to our stuff? Nothing. Pretty easy. Awesome. Crickets out there in the aftermarket fork market. Weird. Oh, yes. Dom.
Jesse Owen, do you have to run your spring cups with your forks?
No. No. The answer is no. You can run anything you want on our fork. I happen to have one of our spring cups on here, just so you can check it out. But the reason that we developed our two-piece spring perch for our fork is two things. One, the factory one, when you have issues, crash it, wreck it, or wrong spring package, you can blow this off the fork because it's got a split in it. So by connecting the two, we're making a stronger system in case you have a crash. But the main reason why we did this, two main reasons. One, height, I'll get to that. Two, it creates a press fit. So this fork tightens up on, this perch tightens up on our fork, causing a press or creating a press fit on the fork, which tightens it to the shaft, and that way making this joint even stronger. And I'm going to show you how this is actually fixing the problem with our fork as opposed to the shaft on the other one. The other reason that we designed this is because when this is installed, it actually lowers the lower portion of the spring. It lowers it by 1 inch. So the whole spring package comes down 1 inch. Why would you want to lower the spring package 1 inch, Dom asks? Because that opens up the spring options on what you can buy off the shelf, keeping you from having to do some custom length. And we aren't doing that necessarily for us. We're doing that so that you guys who want to try out whatever springs you want to run on the thing, you can buy the spring perch, give yourself a larger spring package to shove on it, giving you the rates you need to jump on. Also, the lower spring that is an option, Mitch, I think you said 14-inch lower springs have bind issues, right? Or is it the 16?
No.
14.
That's the rear, not the front.
But we run it, what's the length on our front?
16.
16. In the 14s, lower fronts, if you go too high a rate in a 14, then you can have a bind issue when it comes in contact with the crossover ring. If you have the crossover where you kind of want it, an inch off of it. If you bind the lower, then you can blow up all these parts. If you lower the spring package, we can get a 16 on it, and a 16, we can go all the rates in the world and not have any bind issues and blowing up parts. So that lower perch is actually helping all of the people in the industry that sell spring kits. So really, we're kind of helping our competition. They just don't even know it. I love it when they don't know it. Mitch.
We also have those for the stock fork, too.
Oh, good point. You guys, this two-piece unit, okay, we have that fits the stock fork. So you can actually install that on the stock fork and run any spring package you want, have your tuning options open. Also, when this is installed on the factory fork, I can't show you on that because, well, let me move this number out of the way. What happens when this is installed on there, it actually connects the factory fork to the shaft and making it act as if it's one piece from the standpoint of shear. When it tries to go sideways in a wreck, then you'll have less tendency to try and shear that off when you have this lower perch on there. So it actually is a big help no matter what fork you're running by running that, but you don't have to run it. So long answer to a very simple question, right? You guys have anything else before I move on? All right. Our fork, shock therapy fork, compared to the stock one, it doesn't break. Well, neither does the stock one. So why would you want to do this really cool billet fork? Well, even in a crash, or even if the ball joint fails, or even if you have spring bind system, this still does not have a breakage problem. It still does not break in all of those scenarios. Why? Well, the deal is it protects the shaft in shear, same shaft, same thread diameter, but take a look at this end. Our fork actually surrounds the shaft, so in shear, sideways, it doesn't break at the weak spot. It has more support. keep in mind, and this is to make everybody at Polaris happy, so all you guys at Polaris, you don't break that unless you have a crash, bust a ball joint, which is probably a crash, or a spring package that's not right. So this is extra credit, basically, extra support for any of those issues possibly happening. Not to diminish the one cool thing, they look way better. You got cool billet on the front of the car. And honestly, I think most people are probably putting it on for that reason right now. And you can see how cool that billet looks on the front of the car. So we also, by using the same shaft and using the same diameter thread, we're the only fork that you can install on the vehicle or at home without having any seal issues or upgraded stuff where you take shock apart, or where you can't slide the spring divider over the fork. All that stuff works with ours, so it's the easiest one to install. It is made of 7000 series aluminum, so it is actually a stronger material than the factory stuff. Not that the factory stuff was weak, because we know that the factory forks don't break. It's just the joint. And lastly, one thing that we hear a lot is because the design of our fork is surrounding the bottom of the shaft to stop that shear point. If you are looking at buying an aftermarket fork that does not surround the shaft, it doesn't have a portion of the fork stepping up over that shaft, then the fork is actually useless or pointless unless you just are buying it for the looks. Because the factory one doesn't break. Only has an issue at the joint if you have a crash, wreck, or anything like that. So, one thing that we hear a lot from mostly competition trying to say, don't buy ours, buy yours, is that our fork, people say that our fork limits overall travel of the vehicle. That is also not true. Just like the factory fork breaking is not true. It does not break without you crashing your car, and I bet you're going to have all kinds of other things break when you crash your car. Let's go over the overall travel day. So over here I kind of drew out how that works. The factory fork is flush with the shaft and carries a 3-bellow style bump stop. That bump stop is designed to have a compression or overall compressed length when you bottom this out completely of about 1.5 inches. So our fork sits a little taller, about 3/4 of an inch over the shaft, but we use a different design 2-bellows bump stop. This 2-bellows bump stop has 3/4 of an inch of compressed height. That means when you bottom it out completely, we remove a little bit of bump stop, add a little bit of fork, and you end up with the same compressed length. On the vehicle, when you're completely bottomed out, same exact ground clearance. At the shock, same location of the piston up in the bump stage. So when people say you lose bump stage with this, they do not know what they're talking about. When people say you're losing overall travel, they do not know what they're talking about. I will show you one more visual aids. Here we go. We love visual aids, right? There is both systems, stock bump stop, our fork, and our modified bump stop. Obviously, before they're fully compressed, right? But if you just go with one thing that I'm going to tell you, this system compresses to 1.5 inches, this system compresses to 3/4. They're the same when you throw weight on it and they're fully compressed. No travel difference. So take this portion of the video, click it, save it, copy it, and paste it right on somebody else's ad if they're telling you that we lose some travel. They don't know what they're talking about. Did I not make myself clear on how this works, Dom?
I think you did a great job.
So that people are not misinformed. Before you go into it, bullet points, you guys. The factory forks don't break, but ours are pretty bitchin' looking, so that's probably why you want to get them. 2, the fork to shaft joint's the only issue. It's only an issue when you have parts break or you crash the car. 3, ours is the only one that actually supports the shaft. If somebody else is building one that supports the shaft, then they're going to be in violation of our pending patent. We have patent pending on the support. It's not in place yet, so people are making it. But if you decide to make one, we'll send you a letter and let you know that you're going to be in violation of that when it comes through. Might be 6 months, might be 8 months, but when it happens, then we'll come back and we'll let you know that you got to stop. So that's kind of where we're at. Boom, mic drop. How about you? Dom,
Ty Spencer.
pick up my mic and tell me what you're talking about.
Ty Spencer's asking if we've ever broken a fork during R&D.
We have never broken any of our forks. We have never broken any of the factory forks. We have broken the fork to shaft mating spot right at the thread. We have never broken a fork. Have we broken anything on our forks in any testing? Never have we broken the shaft. Never have we broken the shaft to fork mating spot. Never have we broken a fork with our stuff in any testing or any racing. And pretty much every racer is running our stuff. I mean, I'm exaggerating when I say every, but a lot. Anybody that's on the podium, almost.
Mitch is really good at testing.
Testing, yeah. Mitch can tell you. He's excellent at braking, crashing, and hitting things.
Well, Steve's good
on
for that.
purpose, though.
Steve's good for that.
Oh, Steve.
He did have a comment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He tested it real good in the dunes.
Yes. So you know what? Back to have we ever broken one? We have customers that have tried, and they have stuffed cars off of 30-foot dunes and broke everything off the front end except for the fork to the arm. Shaft, still fine, shock not bent, no issues whatsoever. So definitely have some crash test dummies within our awesome customer group, and they've sent us pictures so we know exactly what's up there. You had another question, I think, earlier, right?
Greg Cluck, he's got our forks, limit straps, springs, tie rods, but he doesn't have the retainers.
Okay.
He's asking, would you recommend us for the added support?
I do not think that you need it. You do not have to get that system, the lower spring perch, okay? The only way, you don't have to. We're not going to be changing your spring rates on your vehicle. We know what yours needed, so you don't need it for the testing and the tuning. You already have a limit strap on there, so you don't need the extra space to put a limit strap clamp on there. Sometimes when we go heavier rates for a heavier vehicle, we can't get a limit strap in there with a factory lower perch, so we put ours on there to lower the system and allow for that limit strap clamp to go on there. But since you have all that, you don't have to have it, man. Just buy it if you like the look. It will be stronger, but you don't need it. Mitch.
The people want to know how much these cost. They are $299.95, and you can get them at www.shocktherapyusa.com.
Boom. There you go, Mitch. Hey, Steve, Mitch is taking your job very quickly. He's doing such an awesome job at this. Whew. The intro. Wait for the outro. Gonna be killer, Steve.
Terry
Yes.
Nash is asking, what the hell's a guy got to do to crash that bad and break one? We don't know.
We haven't seen it happen, Terry. Honestly, I mean, you're welcome to go out and try, but I'm guessing you're going to end up in the hospital doing it because we haven't seen it yet. Mitch.
Rod Dog wants to know, can you install your awesome forks on a Walker Evans shock?
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to tell you, originally, we made our fork with about a 1,000th clearance to the shaft so that it was very, very tight, not a press fit, but very hard to get on. I mean, literally, it was like airtight, that close. And we found some variance in the Walker Evans shaft diameters of about 1,000th. So sometimes we could get one of our forks would be really hard to get onto a Walker shaft. We opened up that clearance to 2 thou, and it seems to go on the Walkers, all of them, whether you've got a shaft variance one way or the other, just fine. But that's the only thing we've ever seen, and that was in the very first run of these, and it hasn't been an issue since. So no issue putting them on Walkers. I would recommend it.
Definitely.
Especially if you feel like crashing your car and doing test dummy stuff. Have your video. You had a question earlier, Dom, and it was about, I remember what you said. It was about Fox.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody asked, go back to that.
It
Let's go back to all of them. Let's go back to all the
does
really.
Doug Pessenmeyer, true or false, does Fox have financial interest in shock therapy?
Answer is true. Yes. I don't know where you've been, but a year and a half ago, we merged with Fox. We merged a ton of patents. We merged a bunch of engineering, and now all this new stuff is coming out later this year, badass stuff. Fox doesn't tell us what to do. We try not to tell Fox what to do. It's an amazing relationship because we have a lot of access to a lot of OEM new testing, a lot of engineering, guys like Regan that are badass, designing really killer stuff over at Fox and the whole team behind them. I mean, imagine the cool things you could do with 230 engineers in your payroll. Well, that's what we have access to, so it's pretty awesome. Thanks for asking. A little late.
Mr. Brian Johnson is asking, are the Pro R toe links adjustable? They are.
Absolutely, they are adjustable. There is no way we would give you an adjustable part or take an adjustable part off a car and give you one that wasn't. It's actually more adjustable than factory by a long shot, and they don't come loose, which was the point of actually designing those. And a little bit thicker material, better material, so they don't flex, right? As Brandon Sims had pointed out with some of his early testing in factory stuff, that it would flex so much you could actually feel it in a corner. So, Mitch, I know you're dying to ask something really cool.
There's just a lot of people listening to you just
Ramble?
go for it right now.
I am
love
just,
it.
hey, ask away. This is your chance. I will not be politically correct. HR is calling tomorrow. I guarantee it.
Well, we know
Perfect.
Steve rolls cars and doesn't break anything.
Well, yeah. I mean, Steve is an excellent test dummy. Steve is the only person to have rolled my Pro R car the only time it's ever been on its lid with Steve driving it. Mitch.
Jay Ayers wants to know, how is the bump zone not affected, but the height added to the top of the fork? It is restricting up travel.
Let me tell you one more time. Clearly you did not listen to what I said. If you add material to the fork, but take away material from the bump stop, you end up with the piston in the same zone. End of story. Take your factory one, compress it all the way with a car weight on it, and measure the overall length of that shock. Take ours, compress it with the weight of the car on it, and measure the overall length of the shock. That will tell you right there. I now will drop the shaft. What else can we do?
Lonnie says you're beautiful.
Lonnie, I love you. You're cute too. You know what? I think Steve in North Carolina is probably waiting for his turn to sign on. He wanted to show you guys a little bit of stuff over there. If we're not going to talk about forks and the general fork you to whoever we feel like saying that to today, because it's one of those moods, been a month, then we might as well have Steve come on and show you guys around in North Carolina a little bit. Steve, are you there? Not yet. All right. Hey, while we're waiting for Steve, if you guys got any really embarrassing questions that you want to send, I'll probably answer them and embarrass you too.
Oh, we got him.
Steve.
Hi, Justin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're in the middle of having an interview to replace you on the videos. It's Mitch.
Good.
He's doing
I don't
so
think
well.
I'm leaving North Carolina. I don't think I'm leaving North Carolina.
He's staying there. He's staying there.
Hey, man, what are you doing over there? Tell everybody what you're doing.
We're getting some stuff set up with, we got Fox in the house. We're getting some inventory stuff settled and kind of getting more internet installed so we get better Wi-Fi, and then setting up the shop.
Hey, do you have good enough Wi-Fi where you could turn around and show everybody the showroom and maybe outside?
Look at that. Justin, and the budget must have been off the hook here because we have hardwood floor on the floor and on the ceiling. It is insane.
Hey, go to the windows in the front. It's actually pretty good Wi-Fi over there. You guys got any more questions?
Got just some random stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can do that.
Random?
Will the
Random good?
ECS2 work with live valve?
I'm sorry, will what?
Will
ECS2?
the ECS2 work with live valve?
Absolutely. ECS2 is going to work with everything. We actually have it on the Pro R behind you, the one we were driving at the race, and it's all live valve.
Well, he's doing a walk around of the...
Oh, okay. I just can't hear him. So
Oh, Josh kicked me off. I'm sorry.
definitely Josh's fault.
fault.
Yeah, show us some more stuff over there, man.
Well, we've got pallet racking, only 6 high. I thought we could have gotten 7 out of it, but it turned out really nice.
Hey, that looks pretty good. It looks like a Home Depot.
And then we've got our shipping.
All right, well, looks like Steve's having some Wi-Fi issues. If he comes back, then great. Otherwise, we'll do something on purpose. Come on to the back of Ernie's car real quick. Don wants to show you something. Is it forks?
Seal savers.
Oh, that's right. There's a new product while we're waiting for Steve to come back. Shock seal savers coming soon. So these seal savers are going to be about 2 weeks out, you guys. When they come on board in inventory, then we will let you know. They'll be on the website. And we're actually going to we'll do a live feed to show you what these are about and how they're made and all that good stuff. So since Steve's gone and we're not looking to promote anything else other than dispel the rumors about shock forks. I think we might be able to get on out of here, but this is going to be the tail end of Mitch's job interview for replacing Steve. I'm thinking Mitch would probably want to.
He did say it keeps kicking him off, so he said have a good live.
All right, Steve, thanks for signing in, man. You guys, thanks for tuning in to talk about shock forks. If you have any other questions, email us, let us know, or give us a call, and we'll be glad to explain shock overall lengths when bump stops are modified on our shock fork
And
for
that
the
phone number?
1,000th time. Wait, no, I'm not giving you, I'm not letting you out off the hook like that. Hold on 1 second. So let us know, we'll answer all your questions.
Yes.
But I'm leaving.
You're leaving.
Yes, Mitch, which means Steve Mitch.
Steve Mitch.
Steve Mitch,
Steve.
take it away. Send us out of here.
If you'd like to know more about that, please give us a call at 623-217-4959. If you'd like to order this part or any other product that we offer, visit the website at www.shocktherapyusa.com.
Boom! Mitch got hired.